Michael.
Yeah, Roland, I watched the interview twice, and Harris and Walz did an excellent job of handling themselves, answering the questions. They were not deep, insightful questions. I thought they may be more hard-hitting questions than what Dana Bash asked. A lot of the questions dealt with attacks from Republicans, things of this nature. But, what you would do on day one, yeah, I agree. That really is a dumb question because the cabinet her cabinet will be approved by the Senate. OK, she has to nominate her cabinet. It has to be approved by the Senate. Number one. Number two, she can do executive orders on day one. We know Biden's first day in office, January 20th, 2021, he signed 10 executive orders. One of those was Executive Order 13985 that dealt with analyzing how policies from the federal government have perpetuated racism and coming up with solutions to address that. So, there were 6 million people who watched the interview. I wasn't sitting back waiting for mainstream media to interview Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. She speaks to thousands of people on a weekly basis at campaign rallies. She's been putting out policy platforms that are going to change people's lives. What this was about, you have mainstream media who really want to capitalize on an interview, dissect every word that she says. You have mediocre white men for the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, things like this, writing op-eds, could criticize her for not doing interviews, things of this nature. So it's done. I'm looking forward to the September 10th debate, and I'm looking for the prosecutor to prosecute the criminal.
All right, all these media people whine and complain, and Vice President Harris needs to sit down for an interview. Why won't she talk? Why won't she talk? Okay, fine. Yesterday, she sat down for an interview with CNN's Dana Bash, who asked her a lot of questions. A lot of them were just Republicans say this, the right says this. Really wasn't a lot of policy questions, but they got it out of the way. And so here's some of that interview.
You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces.
Okay. All right, y'all. I had to stop that. Okay. So let me just say this here. All right. I hate stupid questions. And I believe a stupid question is, what are you going to do day one? Let me help y'all out. The only thing a president can do day one, they can do executive orders. Congress ain't passing a bill. It's day one. I also can't stand, what are you going to do in the first 100 days? I hate that question. That goes back to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And ever since then, 100 days, first 100 days, first 100 days, first 100 days. I remember when I was at CNN, we had this stupid thing we did where we held up these cards and it was sort of like red, blue, green, or I don't know. It was just dumb. I remember David Borman, God rest his soul. I literally said on the air, this is stupid. And it was. So it always happens. Remember, somebody who's elected, they're elected for 4 years. So this whole, what are you going to do on day one? It is maddening to listen to. So I just had to respond to that. So y'all, go ahead and press play.
Reduces childhood poverty by a third. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. Yeah. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it. I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years. Yeah. The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited, I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America. What we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
All right, y'all. So, okay, enough of that. So there was a question in there where she literally asked her about Trump's attack on her blackness. Right? Anyway, let's deal with this in our panel. Michael Imhotep, hosts African History Network show coming to us out of Detroit. Michael, glad to have you here. Kelly Bethea, communication strategist, joining us out of D.C. Folks, go to my iPad here. Zelina Maxwell actually posted this tweet. She said, I took notes to keep track of the questions in the Kamala interview. Only 4 questions weren't a GOP attack or talking point in the form of a question. How does this type of interview help voters understand her policies at all? Damn good question, Kelly.
It's a great question, and unfortunately, we don't have an answer for it. And as soon as I found out that Dana Bash was going to be conducting this interview, my heart sank, right? Because I was just so disappointed. And it was reflective of what we saw with the debate between Biden and Trump and how she moderated that debate. If you want to call it moderating, if anything, it was just, pushing propaganda. And it is disheartening to see somebody who has a storied history of good, solid journalism denigrating herself like this just for viewership purposes only. This was a bad interview, not because of the interviewee, but because of the interviewer. You have an obligation to get at the hard-hitting questions that Americans actually want to know. Americans don't know about the first 100 days. Americans don't know about the process for the first day of the presidency. You need actual policy questions. And frankly, it looked like Harris and Walz were ready for those questions. If I were a body language expert or anything along those lines, just looking at their posture, looking at how they were looking at Bash, they were annoyed. And I would be too.
Michael.
Yeah, Roland, I watched the interview twice, and Harris and Walz did an excellent job of handling themselves, answering the questions. They were not deep, insightful questions. I thought they may be more hard-hitting questions than what Dana Bash asked. A lot of the questions dealt with attacks from Republicans, things of this nature. But, what you would do on day one, Yeah, I agree. That really is a dumb question because the cabinet, her cabinet will be approved by the Senate. OK, she has to nominate her cabinet. It has to be approved by the Senate. Number one. Number two, she could do executive orders on day one. We know Biden's first day in office, January 20th, 2021, he signed 10 executive orders. One of those was Executive Order 13985 that dealt with analyzing how policies from the federal government have perpetuated racism and coming up with solutions to address that. So, you know, there were 6 million people who watched the interview. I wasn't sitting back waiting for mainstream media to interview Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. She speaks to thousands of people on a weekly basis at campaign rallies. She's been putting out policy platforms that are going to change people's lives. What this was about, you have mainstream media who really want to capitalize on an interview, dissect every word that she says. You have mediocre white men for the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, things like this, writing op-eds, criticizing her for not doing interviews, things of this nature. So it's done. I'm looking forward to the September 10th debate, and I'm looking for the prosecutor to prosecute the criminal.
So the question that Dana asked, again, this is just me here. I loved her answer to it because she basically was like, I ain't entertaining this BS. Let me go ahead and play this one for y'all. Check this out.
About your opponent, Donald Trump. I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
And he's
same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
About your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him.
His next question.
That's going to change soon. But what I want
to ask of a question
is what he said last month.
Let me say it again. It was an ass of a question.
Black. Right.
And why is it an ass of a question? Because. So, can you please comment on him questioning your blackness? Why was it an ass of a question, Kelly? Can you please comment on him questioning your maleness? Governor Walz, hey, could you please comment, Vice President Harris, on the questioning of your womanness? Could you please comment on questioning your hair color choice? Vice President Harris, could you comment on why you wear more pantsuits than you wear skirts or dresses? No, and that's why it's an ass of a question. And I'm telling you right now, it drives me crazy. It absolutely drives me crazy when you could ask, because y'all let me know, because I didn't watch it. And it's nothing personal against Dana, but I don't watch CNN. But maybe y'all can help me out. Maybe y'all can help me out. Did Tyree Nichols and criminal justice reform come up during that interview?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let me ask. So the George Floyd Justice Act didn't come up in that interview, huh?
No.
Did the Supreme Court ruling regarding affirmative action come up in that interview?
No.
Okay. Did the Congo or South Sudan or Somalia or Ethiopia, did that come up in that interview?
Africa did not come up in the interview at all. Haiti did not come up in the interview at all.
That's interesting. I mean, was there even a question about saying, hey, Madam Vice President, your father is Jamaican. How do you see Jamaican-American relationships with you as president? Did that come up in the interview?
No, but Roland, Palestine and Gaza came up in the interview. I mean, Palestine and Israel came up in the interview.
Well, of course it did. Of course it did. Of course it did. I'm just, hold on. Of course not. I'm just curious. Did, let's say, America will be a nation, majority of people of color by 2043. How do you see advancing the economic interests of African Americans, other minorities? Did that come up in the interview?
There were no it did not, and these were not hard hitting questions. Wait, follow me here. See, I'm not. Here's why I even don't get up. I don't even get caught up in the hard hitting questions, because I believe that you can ask important questions that are policy oriented, that are not specific, that other folk wouldn't call hard hitting. See, part of this media charade, and I'm gonna go to you, Kelly, then go to Michael. Part of this media charade, Kelly, is she needs to be asked the tough questions. She needs to be asked the difficult questions. No, she actually needs to be asked questions that are actually happening out there every single day in the world, such as, Madam Vice President, can I ask you a question? You had gotten a lot of criticism with regards to your call to dealing with price gouging. A Kroger executive admitted on the stand that they jacked up prices. Last year, Madam Vice President, there was that was an actual case where egg manufacturers admitted to collusion when it comes to pricing. There was an actual verdict. In fact, just going to show y'all this here. Egg prices, y'all. Egg prices rose. Let me close this ad. Egg prices rose 60% in 2022 because a collusive scheme by suppliers. See, to me, that's not, Kelly, a hard-hitting question, but it does go to a policy issue that she raised, a pocketbook issue that people are concerned about, and may very well explain why prices have been jacked up, and people then go, oh, now I know why eggs were damn near $10 a dozen. Go ahead.
I think what you're talking about might be precisely why it took so long for Harris Walz' team and camp to agree to an interview of any kind, because the points that you're making, they've been saying on the campaign trail for weeks. The points that you're making have low-key been addressed to reporters in I don't know what the formal word is, but that time when she comes off the plane and you see the reporters talking to them, she addresses that there. But something tells me that she knew that once it was a national interview, that all of that would go out the window, and they would frankly debase themselves to the most of the simplistic questions being, like you said, what's your hair color? Why the tan suit? Why not skirts? Why not dresses? I mean, I was, the way that interview went, I was surprised that Dano didn't go so far as to say, you have a lovely figure. Why don't you just show it off? Because that was the tenor of the interview the entire time. There was no indication through that hour that something substantive was going to come out of it. For all we care, again, we could have heard this on the campaign trail. We have been hearing this on the campaign trail. They could have put out a press release and done this in less time and with less effort. Like I said, it was disappointing.
How about this?
Harris.
Right. How about this? Madam President, there are 140 million poor and working people in America. 73 million of these people are women. 68% of these people are African American. 66 million are white. And these poor and working class people make up 30 to 40% of the electorate, and many of them sit out elections. What will you do as president to speak to the needs and the interest of low and working class people? That's a better question than asking about, well, Donald Trump said this. What do you say, Michael?
Yeah, I agree, Roland. And when I used the term hard hitting, I didn't mean a gotcha question. I meant something that's insightful, a question that would cause people to come to answer that Vice President Kamala Harris would give, would cause people to really learn a lot more about her and her policies. That's what I meant when I used the term hard hitting. When the answer that she gave to the question about Donald Trump questioning her blackness, quote, same old tired playbook that she said, is what she said. When I took away from that, that also goes to another question that was asked, and she talked about turning the page on the last 10 years, because the last 10 years, especially dealing with with Trump in power and then also surrounding Trump, has been a divisiveness in this country, a nastiness in this country. And she's talking about turning a page on that, the othering of other people. So, yeah, and her plans dealing with attacking price gouging, that came up a little bit. It could have, because of the case that's taken place to stop the merger of Kroger and Albertson, and what came out Tuesday in court dealing with price fixing. OK, that should have come up. Dana Bash should have asked that question, I think.
In fact, if you're going to go that route, which you also say, President Biden has been extremely aggressive when it comes to his Federal Trade Commission and stopping a lot of these mergers and acquisitions that create monopolies.
Yes.
Will you, as president, continue to be just as aggressive as President Biden has been, or will you be more what some are called business friendly? See, substantive question. Not sexy, not a gotcha, may not necessarily go viral, but that is a policy question that could have also potentially elicited a difference between her as president and Biden as president. So all I'm saying to folks is that just understand, to everybody who's watching, when you see these questions, these are questions that senior execs wanted and asked, things along those lines. They don't always dovetail with really what's happening out there in the real world. So, and we know you ain't gonna have no black questions come up. So I can guarantee you, when I get an interview with her, it's gonna be some black questions, because that's what we do. But I don't like most of these interviews because it's a whole bunch of gobbledygook that doesn't mean anything.
To visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Sundays is Black Resistance Movements, from Christopher Columbus to the Haitian Revolution and the Black Power Movement, 1492 to 1968. This is a 10-week online course. And we go through and look at history leading up to the Civil War. We look at hundreds of years of history, and we look at what happens to us after slavery ends. And we look at the Jim Crow era, Reconstruction, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, Great Migration, and look at history, look at the laws and policies put in place that brought us to where we are today to understand where we need to go from here. Okay. And then the first class that I teach, and I teach this one on Saturdays, is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Now, this class we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. This is a 12-week online course. For both of these classes, we do the sessions live. All the classes are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. I have my class lesson plan here. So it walks you through each the topics for each class. You can each class session. You can download the class lesson plan here also. Okay, so the classes are on sale right now, $80, regularly $130. We have a bundle pack where you get both courses for $120. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content now. Okay, as soon as you register, you can start watching the content now. You don't have to be present in class. You can just watch it at your own pace. And even after the course is over with, you can go back and you'll still have full access. You can watch it anytime. The content is PG-13, so you can use this with your children. It's not, I don't do a lot of cursing or anything like that. It's not overly vulgar. It's very visual. There are 80 to 100 articles that we go through and look at. There are over 200 slides in my class. There are 15 book references as well. And usually I show you the books on the screen, the book references on the screen. Also, I show you excerpts of interviews I've done with some of our scholars like Professor James Small, Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, Anthony Browder, Tony Browder, Renoku Rashidi, and others. Okay, so I've been teaching this class on and off since 2017, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. I developed both of these classes. I'm a historian. I've been studying 34 years. So you're never going to look at history the same way. Your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history. So this information is going to totally blow you away. You can support us also through, so register for the classes. That supports us, that helps us to financially support us, to help us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay the bills, etc. You can also support us through Cash App and PayPal, because all this stuff does not happen for free. You can support us through Cash App or PayPal, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App. And that's our official Cash App account. Now, these are some fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I've identified 5 of them out here. They've been stealing money from us. I'm still trying to get them shut down. When you click on this link here, it takes you to our QR code for the African History Network as well for Cash App. Okay. And then here's our PayPal link right above that. You can click on that also. So if you want to support us, $5, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100 or more, that definitely helps. Okay. Because it takes a lot to do the type of research that I do and pay for all of these services. Listen to the African History Network show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, normally 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We did it today earlier. We'll do a rebroadcast at 9 p.m. today. I did 4 hours of radio and Facebook Live with WBLS today, Brother Fatin Muhammad, open lines. We did that 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, okay? 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Facebook Live is on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. So I shared it there. And we talked about the election, Kamala Harris versus Trump. We got into a deep discussion about politics and history, things of that nature. So go check that out also. All right. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my personal page, Michael Imhotep. You can like our posts, share them, post your comments as well as on our videos, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, on YouTube. Okay. And subscribe there, like our posts, comment as well. All right. Look, we have to get out of here. Remember, the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. Watch me Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Hopefully he'll stop interrupting me. And hopefully on his Win with Black Men call, he'll get some Sigmas on there. I've been telling Roland, you got to get some Sigmas on there. Okay, Blue Fire Go Mob. Right now it's